rain throughout the day. Indianapolis Raceway Park is wet. We're in a rain delay. Efforts continue to dry out the track. We still have hopes of having some live midget racing for you in the Hardee's Racing Series. However, the weatherman calling for an excellent chance of more rain. A very cool night, 69 degrees, winds northwesterly at 15 miles per hour. So once again, we'll attempt to dry this track out and see some USAC midget racing from Indianapolis Raceway Park. On tap tonight, a most diverse evening of motorsports. From Thunder Valley in Bristol, Tennessee, it's the IHRA Pro Motorcycles. From the Nürburgring, the German touring cars. Can Hans Stuck repeat on Saturday Night Thunder? And live from Indianapolis Raceway Park, the Hardee's Racing Series, featuring the USAC Midgets. Hi everybody, I'm Gary Lee and welcome to a wet Indianapolis Raceway Park. Again, the efforts continue to dry this oval, so perhaps we will still see some USAC midget competition on this very fast oval here in central Indiana. We'll certainly have the German touring cars and the pro bikes from Thunder Valley in Bristol, Tennessee. I suppose we could characterize this season as the year of Jeff Gordon, the phenomenal teenager, only 18 years of age, from Pittsburgh, Indiana. As we take a look at his calendar so far this season, back in April, you saw him win here on ESPN at Ascot Park on the dirt in a midget. Then the very next week, he took the points championship in that television series. During the month of May, to the Winchester High Bank Speedway in eastern Indiana, a sprint car victory. Back to Indianapolis Raceway Park here in Indiana, a victory the night before the 500. In June, a sprint victory here at Raceway Park. And just a week ago, a world record for a midget on a half mile at Winchester. Then the very next day, he set a midget record in qualifying, a midget record in the heat race, a midget record in the feature, and also won the sprint feature. And to top that off, as we're digging out of the snow here in the Midwest during the winter months, he was down under in Australia winning 3 more midget mains and 2 sprint car features. A phenomenal season for 18-year-old Jeff Gordon. Well, last week here on ESPN, you met Marty Reed. He'll be joining us momentarily in the pit area. A new face to say hello to, a 3-time USAC champion, once in the midgets, twice in the Silver Crown Championship dirt cars, Larry Rice. Larry, welcome. And you turned down some racing opportunities to join us. We're delighted to have you here. What do you think of this youngster?
Well, I'll tell you what, he's a phenomenal race car driver. Obviously, he's a good talent. He's got good race cars, but he's got something else going for him, Gary, that most guys that are 18 years old don't have, and that's a lot of experience. He started racing sprint cars at only 13 years old. That means he's got 6 years of experience in fast race cars with high horsepower engines in them. Most guys don't get that kind of experience until they're 26 or 27 years old. So he's got a big jump on a lot of these guys.
And his efforts have not gone unnoticed. There are some big cadetty birds, shall we say, taking a look, and I think he has a very promising career in the future. Well, let's go now to the pit area. A gentleman you met last week at Winchester, Marty Reed, and he's standing by with Jeff Gordon.
Yes, guys, and we have managed to sneak out of the rain. We're inside the Valvoline trailer, and boy, do we thank those guys, because you can see behind us a few Hardy souls here for the Hardee's Deluxe Series, and the man on my left is obviously the man of the season right now in sprints, midgets, especially the midgets. Last week, setting all those records. And I have to ask you again, because we were talking before we went on the air, was it as easy as it sounded?
Oh, nothing's ever easy, you know. The car is just working great. And I owe a lot to Raleigh Helming, who put a really good team together this year. And, you know, the whole car is just, the whole thing is really worked together. You know, every little piece matches each other, and they did their homework. And, you know, it makes it easier on me, but yet, you know, to win, you really have to work hard.
Talk a little bit, though, about the midget race in particular, because you set one record right after another. And you were talking about some of the guys that you were really worried about, and a move in strategy that really paid off.
Well, you know, Schilling, he's always tough. And last week and last Sunday, we had 3 red flags, and the last red flag came down with 7 laps to go. And he went to softer tires, and I kept the harder tires on because I was running pretty good with the hard tires. And you know, it paid off. The 7 laps on real soft tires isn't always a smart idea. They slow down after about 2 or 3 laps. So he went to 3rd, and I kept the lead and ended up winning it. So, you know, it's just one of those decisions where it just comes down right to the end, and you got to make it pretty quick.
Let's talk about the future. You're obviously getting pressure from many quarters to make decisions about your future. Where is Jeff Gordon headed right now?
Well, you know, I wish I could say. I'd definitely like to go NASCAR, IndyCar, but you know, that's not just around the corner. I mean, right now I'm sprint car and midget racing and getting as much publicity here on ESPN and as many laps as I can. But we're definitely working on trying to get some teams together. NASCAR's looking pretty strong right now, but you know, if everything comes together and clicks, who knows what'll happen.
But there is also a test session coming up in a Super V, I hear?
Yeah, next Thursday here on the road course at IRP, we're gonna. I have a friend of mine, Dave Conti, who has a Super V, and he's been wanting to put me in it and just kind of get some laps in. So we're gonna just go out there and have fun with it and just you know, get some laps. And road courses are important, even with NASCAR. So try it out.
He'll probably set an unofficial lap record when he's out here. Well, as you can see over our shoulders, the rain is still continuing to fall here at Indianapolis Raceway Park, but stay with us. Saturday Night Thunder continues.
Well, the rain continues here in central Indiana, and the efforts behind us also continue, but it looks like Mother Nature may win this one tonight, but we're going to stay tight and hopefully still have some action to show you live from Raceway Park. Join us next week for the American Racing Series, the 5th race of a 14-race series, this one from Portland, Oregon. And from Indianapolis Raceway Park, 100 laps of competition for the USAC Silver Crown Series. June in Indiana sometimes means rain. Some optimistic fans, doggone it, we have rain on a Saturday here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Larry Rice and Gary Lee will be joined momentarily by Marty Reed. And we had some controversy last week at Winchester. Don Schilling in a brand new sprint car set a track record, was then disqualified because of some illegal fuel. It happened again to Rich Vogler the following day at Salem.
Yes, well, it's always been against the rules to have any kind of additive in your fuel. They tested them. They have a specific method by which they test. They found the additives in the fuel, and they disqualified them. It's a steadfast rule. It hasn't changed. So if you have those additives, you have to be ready for the consequences.
All right, I think we have more on that now from the pit area. Let's go back to Marty Reed.
Yeah, Gary, about the only good thing we can say about the rain is it will allow us to finally show viewers at home exactly how the test is run. Technical Director for USAC, Norm Shields, is with us. And Norm, why don't you just take us through the process of how you test each and every one of these fuels?
Fine, Marty. We're subject. We can test this fuel at any time in any given vent. We've previously pulled a sample here. Normally, we'll take it right from the fuel line coming off the pump. We're subject to do that. We put it in this container. At that time, we take the fuel and pour it into the beaker. Then we need to record the temperature to get the reading, in which we have an electric thermometer here. Once we've determined the temperature, which in this case it is 70 degrees, we're ready to take the specific gravity bobbin float.
Now, this is a hydrometer that you're going to slide down in here.
That's true, Marty. That's correct. Thanks for the correction. Okay, this is going to give us a correlation between temperature and the specific gravity from this hydrometer.
Now, to put it in layman's terms, what you're looking for is a number that you've figured out in advance, correct? By the temperature on what it should measure on the hydrometer?
Correct. This is in increments of 2, and we knew what the temperature was. It was 70 degrees, so it correlates right directly off of the specific gravity.
So what should this read?
Okay, in this case here, this should read 790 or
Okay.
790. It starts out at .700.
Starts out at .700.
And you're in increments of 2. So if you can see this right here, it's right on 790.
Now, see if we can get a good shot of it. I know it's going to be difficult to see, but right in there.
But right there is 790, right off the beaker, right there.
Now, the margin of error, which percentage?
We have a 2% margin of error, up or down, 2%.
Which really isn't that much.
No, sir. No, it's not. No.
Now, the one thing that you can't tell from this test, though, is what additive they've put in there.
That's correct. To do that, if the rule specifically says no additives in methanol, it's got to be straight methanol. If we get a reading above that marginal 2%, then it's conclusive at the racetrack that they're disqualified at that point. If further tests are needed, if the competitors or to our liking needs to know, it has to be sent to a chemical lab.
Now, obviously, a lot of competitors will say, hey, wait a minute, I got a bad load of fuel. It's not my fault. It could be water in there. How would water read in there?
Well, water will read, and I'm sure that there could be a possible the humidities and so forth in tanks. That's why we allow the 2%. But no additives whatsoever. That's why we have that 2 reflections of the 2%.
Well, Norm, thanks a lot for explaining the process to us. Gary, now you know exactly how it goes down here in pit lane.
Well, Marty and Larry, I have to wonder if perhaps there should be a different procedure where they could perhaps test the fuel and at some later point and then take the victory away if in fact they let him run.
Well, it's awfully hard to test the fuel later and take victory away later. It's a lot easier to do it before the fact than to let all the fans watch somebody win a race and then test it, send it off to a laboratory and come back next week and say, well, he didn't really win that race. So this way, it doesn't matter what kind of an additive it is, whether it's water that doesn't help at all or something that does help. If they find it in the fuel, then they're disqualified. They don't have to wait a week. The fans see who wins the race right at that time, and they don't have to worry about it.
Should they test it chemically so they know immediately?
Well, that's up for controversy. I don't know specifically whether they should test it chemically. It would be much tougher to do. This procedure is very, very good. I think they've proven it to be pretty foolproof, and so I think it works pretty well, really.
Well, you didn't like the idea of riding a motorcycle at 200 miles an hour without being strapped down. Maybe you'd like the German touring cars because they're coming up next. The efforts continue behind us here at Indianapolis Raceway Park to dry the track. We're coming back with more on Saturday Night Thunder. Stay with us. Of course, if this were a road course, we'd be racing right now, but when Mother Nature says we're going to have some rain on an oval, we can't go racing. That's the situation we have right now here in central Indiana as the rain continues, but we have a lot of qualifying results for all the major races this weekend coming up. Stay with us. Well, we are still in the rain delay for the USAC Midgets here at Indianapolis Raceway Park on our Hardee's Racing Series. But as we promised, a lot of racing this weekend. And because of rain up at Michigan for the Miller Genuine Draft 400, the lineup was determined by point standings. Dale Earnhardt and Morgan Shepherd sharing the front row. Then it's Mark Martin, Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Bodine will go from the 5th position. In the 6th position, Kyle Petty. Then it's Rusty Wallace, Brett Bodine, Ken Schrader, and Bill Elliott. Portland and the CART Indy cars on tap for the Budweiser G.O. Joe's 200. You'll see that live on ESPN, 4 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Danny Sullivan, a new track record, 122.1 miles per hour. He'll be joined in the front row by Michael Andretti, the winner just a week ago at Detroit. Al Unser Jr. starts 3rd. Then it's Mario Andretti and Bobby Rahal. In the second 5, we have Rick Mears, Eddie Cheever, Emerson Fittipaldi, Teo Fabi, and Scott Brayton. And now at midnight tomorrow night Eastern Time, we have the Grand Prix of Mexico, perhaps the roughest circuit on the Grand Prix Formula One series. And Gerhard Berger will have the pole. Ricardo Patrese will start outside. Ayrton Senna and Nigel Manzo will occupy row 2. Terry Boutsen will have the 5th starting position. Then it's Gina Lisi, Pierluigi Martini, Nelson Piquet, Satoru Nakajima, and Stefano Medina. Did we get through those all right? I'm going to let you have those European names the next time, all right? Paul Tracy will start from the pole position for the Portland American Racing Series. We'll have that on next week on Saturday Night Thunder. Tommy Byrne, who won the last outing at Detroit, will start outside the front row. Ted Prappas and Mark Smith will occupy row 2. Mitch Thiemann out of Portland will go in the 5th position. Then it's Mike Snow, P.J. Jones, Robbie Buell, Benicio Salmi, and Tom Kristoff in the 10th position. Race results from the Trans Am, and that was this afternoon. We'll have the race results from the Trans Am. Max Jones victorious. Darren Brassfield finished 2nd. Then it was Tommy Kendall, Jack Baldwin, Paul Genelosi in the 5th position. Bob Sobey was 6th, Irv Hare, Dick Danielson, Scott Sharp, and Chris Neifel. Well, a good track promoter will never ever cancel an event until he sells out of all the food in the concession stand. Well, we saw the Frenchman win the German touring cars. How about the French cuisine in the infield, Marty?
Sacre bleu, Gary Lee. You did great with all those Formula One names still. Stefano Modena, but that's all right. Hey, he wasn't around to know any of the difference. Excuse me, sir. I do anything to get out of the rain, including work in the concession stand. Would you like something? Like a hamburger, maybe? Let me see. Sorry, no hamburgers. How about a hot dog? Sorry, no hot dogs. Can you be less picky? Listen, we've had a wonderful time grabbing shelter wherever we can. This is Dorothy. These folks never get any credit. They're the ones that make us do all this work down here with plenty of food in our stomach. So you ought to get a little FaceTime here.
Okay.
See, she didn't know I was going to do that to her. And also the other, look at this over here. These guys are hiding. This is Anita in the red, and Lynn, and notice Tony. Tony says, hey, I'll be okay, but the other two don't want to be. It's okay. Notice also, no one out here will now come up and let me wait on them. So that's why I'm introducing everybody. So, Gary, there is plenty of food down here, believe it or not. I just didn't want to take the time to get something up to you. You're too far away, buddy.
I'll take a hostess ding-dong when you come back after the race is over. And I apologize for those foreign names. We have enough trouble with Bob Ciccone here in this country, right?
Right. Leave me with P.J. Jones, will you?
I tell you what, we still have some rain delay here at Indianapolis Raceway Park as the rain continues throughout central Indiana. We had some great racing last weekend from the high banks, 34-degree banking, Winchester, Indiana. Let's go back 1 week. And we welcome you back live to Indianapolis Raceway Park. Larry Rice and Gary Lee, and of course the race you have just seen was last week with the Stan Fox winning at Winchester. You know, Larry, race drivers really don't appreciate how many fans and friends they have until they get injured. And one guy that has a host of fans is a guy that we really miss here at Raceway Park, and that's Gary Bettenhausen. If you watch Speed Week tonight, you know he's back in Indianapolis at Methodist Hospital for some additional surgery. And you talked to his wife, Wavelyn, this morning.
Yes, I did. Wave said that he's doing a lot better today, but he's had some surgery this week. He's had some skin grafts. His injuries were a lot more serious than we were first led to believe. The arms were burned a little worse. He had some spleen damage, and he had to have that removed. So there were all sorts of things that complicated. He had pneumonia a little later. So he was feeling a little down in the dumps, and I'm sure that anything that you fans out there could do, write him a letter, drop him a card, he'd really appreciate it at this point.
And here you go, cards and letters to Gary Bettenhausen in care of Methodist Hospital, P.O. Box 1367, Indianapolis, Indiana 46206. He has a host of fans and friends, and I'm sure he'd like to hear from all of you. And we're going to have him back in a sprint car or a midget very, very soon, we're sure. And of course, as the rain continues, we have yet to have the race called here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. But we had a great sprint car feature 1 week ago tonight on the high banks at Winchester. So let's go back 1 week and see if Jeff Gordon can win again. Tonight's live racing is brought to you by Olympic, the family of stain products that protects your home from damage rain can do. Olympic stops the rain. By Quaker State, the Big Q is One Tough Motor Oil. And by Z-Bart, car improvement specialist, makers of new Super Rust protection for the cars of the 90s. Tonight's cage cam has been provided by CarQuest. For your nearest CarQuest Auto Parts store, call 1-800-492-PART. You'll find it at CarQuest. Join Paul Page and Derek Daly for the CART Budweiser G.I. Joe's 200 live from Portland, Oregon, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Also tomorrow, Major League Baseball from Cincinnati's Riverfront Stadium, the Reds and the Dodgers. John Miller will be joined by Joe Morgan with the play-by-play. And following us this evening, join Dave Marish for Major League Baseball tonight. That wraps it up from Indianapolis Raceway Park. For Marty Reed and Larry Rice, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. So long from Indianapolis. There's the official word. This United States Auto Club Midget race has been canceled for tonight because of rain here at Indianapolis Raceway Park in central Indiana. Dave Marish will be coming along momentarily with Major League Baseball tonight. We still have some time, though, before that program, so we'll take you back to Phoenix and Copper World Classic in the stock car division.